Pepe, you mentioned that you think that there's more contenders in the West than you do in the East this year. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so the Nuggets, absolute contender. I think they're the best team in the league. I think the Clippers, they've looked great. They have the best record in the NBA over the last 30 games. They have 4 stars. Well, let's just say 3 stars, and then they have a star in his role, right? Russ off the bench is a star in his role. So I think they're legit. I think they're legit because Harden can run the show, and Kawhi's done it before, right? So that's two contenders right there, and then you always have Golden State contender. You know, you can't ever count them out. The Lakers, I agree, same thing, right? They have LeBron, you can't count them out. So that's 4 right there. I think any 4 of those teams can beat any team in the East, even Boston, right? Boston's probably the biggest contender, but I think they can even beat Boston. I think the winner of the championship is going to come out of the West for sure.
Okay. I think that's fair. I would agree with you. I think the West is stronger than the East, although I do think the top 8 of the East are all solid. That I think in years past, there's been teams weaker. There's been that random Raptors team or whatever it is that you're like, all right, I'll take them in the first round. I don't feel that way in the East, but as far as the top end talent, I would agree with you there. So let's start off. I'll throw it to you right away. I think we're on the same page here once again. The Denver Nuggets, top team in the Western Conference, Pepe?
Yes. Jokic is the best player in the league.
Yeah, and we'll see if he's still the MVP when we get to that part of the conversation. I think I can tip my hat and say that I would not have him as MVP at this current point, but let's stick in the Western Conference for now. Clippers, your number 2?
Yes.
I'm with you. I'm on the same page with you here. How about number 3? This is where I think we differ.
Number 3. So it's hard for me to give it to a team like the T-Wolves, a team like the Thunder, even the Pelicans. I know they're all up there. But I think I got to give it to Phoenix.
Okay.
I got to give it to Phoenix. I think Devin Booker's playing on another level this year. I think he's better than Ant right now. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's probably a little better, but I think Booker's at least better than Ant. He's more polished. So, yeah, I'm going to give it to Phoenix. You know, KD obviously is KD. I don't know about Bradley Beal. We have to see him get back into form, but Grayson Allen's having a great year.
Yeah. Eric Gordon.
A lot of shooters, right? A lot of shooters. I don't know about Nurkic. I don't know if I like that trade, but maybe they can overcome that. I'm going to go with Phoenix number 3.
Okay, interesting. They are a team I did not have in my top 5. They're another theoretical team to me. It's interesting that I am beginning to believe a little more, and I do want to specifically shout out Kevin Durant, that I think he deserves a ton of credit for more or less being the backseat guy for that team at times, that he's way more focused on being a little bit of a rim protector for that team, being a guy that does play make, does get rebounds, and not as much like Kevin Durant scoring assassin that we know him to be. That takes a lot of growth from a guy on an individual level, so I will give a little hat tip there. But I will say, like, even a matchup like last night, Domantas Sabonis absolutely killed that team just using his physicality. Nurkic could not hang. And then when they switch on Kevin Durant, that's still not a matchup that they're winning. So I think there's ways that you can exploit this team defensively that do concern me in a playoff series where I look like these top-end units, teams like the Denver Nuggets, like the Clippers, that are going to capitalize on that. So I did leave them off. For my number 3, I went with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then I'm with you on the skepticism for the Timberwolves. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is that dude. And this team is deep behind him. Jalen Williams is the real deal. Chet Holmgren has been spectacular this year for the most part. Had one little cold stretch. And then you look at the depth behind them, guys like Isaiah Joe, stars in their role, that they do their thing. There's a ton of young talent. I get they're a little bit ahead of the curve, and I get where people throughout the playing with house money. But to some extent in the playoffs, I think that can be a good thing. That when you don't have the pressure on you, when you don't have you're not a team like the Sixers who has this second round reputation or this concern in breaking through that wall. I think this team plays free. They're good, and they can win in a bunch of different varieties of ways, which is very appealing to me.
Yeah, and you think about the Gordon Hayward pickup too, right? Veteran off the bench who can get you a bucket. I like that pick. I like them at 3.
All right, yeah, I like that. How about your number 4? What do you have beyond that?
You kind of just convinced me to put OKC there. Yeah, I like OKC. I think they're a little bit above the T-Wolves, right?
Yeah, I did. I will say I had the Timberwolves my number 5 team, but they're a team that I hesitate to buy in on completely. I do believe in Anthony Edwards. I do believe that guy is a real dude, a guy that will be a grade A number 1 star in this league
for a couple of years, though, right?
Yeah, for a long time. I think he's close. He's very much knocking, but I honestly think this is more of a concern with his usage. That you look at a guy like Shai, he's playing the optimum basketball for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't think Anthony Edwards quite is for the way that he wants to play. I think Rudy Gobert is the biggest reason for that. And
you're saying because he can't attack the rim?
In a big way. That's a big part of it for sure. And some of it's just the touches, the way that the pie is cut around on this team. Jaden McDaniels also, I was at one point a Jaden McDaniels guy, kind of getting off that train. That some of the decision making has been pretty poor from him in late game situations specifically. And I will bring it back to the Gobert side of things. That let's not forget this is the same Rudy Gobert that was unplayable in the playoffs with that Utah Jazz team. That when you get him in space on the perimeter, and Gobert has been terrific this year for the most part, but there are concerns from his past that I have trouble overlooking for this. So I had the Timberwolves at 5. Curious how you rounded out this list.
Well, who's your number 4?
So I have Denver Nuggets number 1, Los Angeles Clippers number 2, OKC Thunder number 3, and the Dallas Mavericks number 4. We did skip over here.
Yeah.
Another team that I think is flying under the radar, that they've battled some injuries. They're a team that was pretty active at the trade deadline, did some things, got rid of Grant Williams, made it clear that they wanted no part of Grant Williams with all those leaks at this point.
And they got better.
But the thing that gives me belief in this Mavericks team, number 1, Luka Doncic is a guy that I feel comfortable as a playoff riser, as a guy that can take control of the game on his own. That Game 7 victory over the Suns, that's a moment that will stick with me for the legacy of his career, of just ripping their hearts out in front of their home fans, beating them by like 40 points. That was ridiculous stuff. And Kyrie Irving, we know what he can do as number 2. That even with him being out of the lineup, he dealt with that ankle injury for a while. We forget how good they looked before that. That Mavericks team was absolutely humming. So I think they can find that again. I have the Mavs my number 4 team in the West.
I would agree with that. I mean, Luka hasn't won an NBA championship, but he's a champion, right? Mm-hmm. He won in Spain with Real Madrid when he was like 17. So he's a champion. He's one of the best. I mean, what? I would say Jokic is 1. I would say Luka probably is number 2 in the whole league.
Wow.
Yeah. He can dominate a whole game. I think he's the most similar player to LeBron, where he can control the pace of the game.
He's not the defender LeBron James is.
Not the defender, but I think he's been improving in that area a lot. I think that kind of goes under the radar, but he's really trying.
Is Luka better than Giannis? I don't think he is.
That's hard. They're completely different. They're different players, right? So it's hard. I would give Giannis the edge right now.
I would as well. Yeah.
But still, I mean, Luka, if he's not 2, he's 3. If he's not 3, he's 4, right? And on any given day, he could be 1. Kyrie's a champion. He won with LeBron. And like I said, Luka's comparable to LeBron, right? I mean, I guess Luka wants the ball in his hands a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, they're a great 1-2 punch. They have a great bench now. They have some shooters. They have Lively, who's been picking up. I mean, he's a rookie, but he's what they need. He's a rim protector. He's a roller. Now they have a few guys who can pick and pop as well. With Cleaver coming back, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like Dallas.
Okay. So yeah, that's my top 5 of Nuggets, Clippers, Thunder, Mavericks, T-Wolves. What's your full top 5?
So Denver 1, yep. Clippers 2,
mm-hmm.
Phoenix 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can put Dallas 4 though. I mean, if you think, I'm gonna put the Lakers 4.
Interesting.
Western Conference Finals last year. Same squad. LeBron, AD have been healthy. I mean, I know they've been struggling. They've had some injuries, but I think, I mean, let's think about them last year, right? Going into the trade deadline, I think they were sub 500.
Mm.
I know they traded Russ out.
And they overhauled that whole team in a way they didn't this year.
Yeah, and I think that kind of stands to the point where they believe in the team, right? Pelinka believes in the team they have now, and maybe they couldn't get any good deals. But I think when you have LeBron and AD fully healthy with Reeves, I mean, let's face it, Reeves was struggling at the beginning of the year.
Mm.
D'Lo was struggling, right? And those are your 2 scoring guards. But if they're playing confident, they're hitting shots, I think they're hard to beat.
Fair enough. They fall in. I have the Warriors and Lakers in the same tier of category in my honorable mentions here that I can't count them out, but I also don't fully believe in them. And I will say I have the Warriors slightly above the Lakers as far as belief in that. Steph Curry, I know, is still Steph Curry. And while LeBron is still a phenomenal basketball player, he's not what LeBron once was. I think there's been more of a fall off from LeBron at his peak to what he is now than there is from Steph Curry at his peak to what he is now. And I will none to mind the fact that the peak of LeBron, I will give you, was higher. Absolutely.
100%. But who's Steph's AD, though?
I think Jonathan Kuminga changes the ceiling of that team. I think Klay Thompson is going to play better than he's currently playing. I think Draymond Green's quietly having the best year he's had in a couple seasons at this point. I think there's enough ways, even you want to look at like a Pochevsky, what he can do on a night-by-night basis. They have enough guys that are capable of stepping up into that second-tier role that it's not going to be the prime Splash Brothers. But I do think there's enough ways you can generate offense and enough ways that you can win, guys that can get hot, that I still believe that team has a fighting chance.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just think Anthony Davis, I think what he does on a basketball floor is kind of underrated to me. I think he can control a whole game defensively, and I think drop 30, right? His biggest problem is his inconsistency right now. But I think when I think of who can stop Jokic, I think it's AD, right? And I don't think AD can like fully stop him, but I think he has the best chance out of anybody in the league. I mean, maybe Draymond. Draymond's a little undersized, but I think the Warriors as a whole, I don't think they have enough. I don't know. I don't know if Clay can come back. I really don't. I mean, he's a spot shooter, and he's not confident in himself. And when you're a shooter like that, you need to think that your shot's going in every time. And I don't think Clay thinks that right now. I think he can find it. I would bet that he wouldn't as of now. That's my problem.
Yeah, that's fair. And that very well could be true, proven to be true. That we will see how that ultimately plays out. So that was Lakers as your number 4, you said?
Yeah.
So who's your rounded out with your number 5?
And I'll put Dallas at 5.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So I can live with that list as well. Would you like to give a finals prediction right now? Who you think wins it based on what you see in the first half of the season?
I'm going with the Clippers.
The Clippers. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I will say there is a part of me that thinks this could be Boston getting it done this year, that I do feel like they're due to break through. This is a better Boston team, one that fears me more than they have in past years. Do you think Derek White is a legit part of that team? Porzingis really scares me on a matchup basis by a lot of these contenders, the way that he can stretch the floor, play 5-out ball. This Boston team can win in more ways than I think they can in past years, and that does scare me quite a bit. So I'll lock that in for now.